Peace, beautiful people. I'm excited. I'm excited to finally get this underway. This is the Urban Eden podcast. I am Terran Lewis, the co-founder of Urban Eden. Urban Eden, for you guys who might not know, if you know, then you know. But if you don't know, then Urban Eden is my company that I have where we create natural soaps, natural body care products, and complementary accessories. And then we just use plant-based products. Everything is plant-based. We use essential oils. We've been in business for about 8 years. And so it's been a journey, and the journey even began before Urban Eden. So even in this episode, that's what I'm going to dive into. I'm going to let you guys know a little bit more about myself first and foremost, about my journey, how I got into Urban Eden. And then this podcast is essentially going to be the journey of us exploring things that are natural, but as they pertain to taking care of your body, taking care of your mind and your spirit. We consider Urban Eden to be like a holistic practice, a holistic business, because a lot of the practices are holistic. They focus on the mind, the body, and the soul. Even with us like using essential oils, all of that has to do with the mind, body, and soul. So it's just all connected. And of course, like just journeying through life, we've just found out how so many different things are connected. So I'll be sharing my journey along this podcast, and also inviting guests who are experts within their fields, who are like herbalists. We'll be talking to nutritionists, some estheticians, maybe if we find some dermatologists. We'll be talking to different people who just know about holistic practices within taking care of your skin, your body, and all of the above. So this is the Urban Eden podcast, and again, like I said, I'm excited to be here. I feel excited because I have like this platform. Most of the time we're just like, I'm creating content and like making videos for Urban Eden, but this is like the platform and the space where I can really kind of just like chop it up, and I get to learn more, you guys get to learn more, and we could just dive deeper into holistic practices together. I feel like any messages that I try to share from Urban Eden, as far as like content, as far as things that I value and believe, that it all just fits into the holistic realm. That's how I got started with the business. Let's talk about me, which is one thing that I do like to talk about on my papers when I was coming up in college, high school, all of that. If I was talking about myself, I got an A. Me, Terran. Let me see. I'm 32. Am I 32? I'm 32. It sounds weird to say I'm 32. And also, this year is going by extremely fast. So it's like 32 just came and went. I'm about to be 33. Was born in September. I'm a Virgo. Yes, shout out to the Virgos out there. And I was born in upstate New York. My mom, Felicia, and my dad, Terrence, they got together and made me. So shout out to them. But just even growing up with them, my mom is from New Jersey. My dad is from Florida. So my dad has those southern roots and my mom has the northern roots. And growing up for me was, I had my dad who cooked a lot, and then my mom, she cooked, but she was more like I always grew up with this mindset that like people from up north, they just didn't like really cook like that. It was more like a fast-paced life. Me personally, I was born in upstate New York, but then we moved around a lot when I was a kid. So my dad was in the military, and so we just moved to so many different places. But just even for me growing up, like, we ate a lot of like processed food. I'm not trying to put my parents out there like that, so let me go ahead but it's just the way that I grew up. I'm just putting that disclaimer out there. I'm not trying to put them out there. They were doing the best with what they had, and I'm doing the best with what I got. So this is just what I learned along the way. But yeah, for me growing up, it was like a lot of like processed foods that we were eating. And I just never grew up like knowing that our food came from plants, essentially. Of course, you just went to the grocery store thinking that's where your food came from. But I do have vivid memories of just going to the grocery store and getting like fruits. Fruits were an essential part of my diet growing up. But then, of course, like everything else was like a lot of things were like from a can or something like that. So, so that's just pretty much it. I was just growing up living life doing that, just not even knowing that there was another way out there. Of course, I feel like I lived like a whole totally different life, like just growing up versus this like light switch that came on when I was like 18. I went to college at Georgia State, and so growing up I grew up many different places, and then I went to high school in Covington, which is outside of the Atlanta perimeter. And then for college, I went to school at Georgia State. So then I'm moving downtown, and I'm being more exposed to like more diverse people and just different ways of life down there. And I don't know. I just went into college like just expecting to have fun, and I did have fun. Okay, I had fun in college. I didn't like necessarily. We didn't graduate from college, but I went there. I went there for several years. When I went for like journalism and broadcasting, public relations, like somewhere in that field. And I remember, I guess like my mind was just super like fresh, just going into college in general. Because I remember even at some point in taking like a journalism class, we started to learn like different things and just learned how you can't just always like use your voice. If you work for like these bigger networks, if you wanted to be like in journalism, that it was hard to like use your voice in particular, and that you had to say whatever like that corporation told you to say. And I'm like, well, what am I doing journalism for? And I really kind of just like lost the fire, but it's cool now. Podcasts are around and different things are around, so you can really express your viewpoint more so, and you have these platforms where you can speak and talk about the things that you want to talk about. So shout out to how things have evolved along the way. But yeah, during college, that was like I just was pretty much just finding my way, I guess you could say. Just meeting different friends. I stayed in the freshman dorms, and that's where I met Quentin. If y'all know about Urban Eating and y'all know me, y'all know that I have a great husband. He's a great person. His name is Quentin. And a lot of we've done a lot of life together so far because, we met when we were 17. We were friends and started dating and got married like when we were like 20, 22. So I remember just like within us being friends, me and Quentin would just talk and have different conversations. We talked about religion. We talked about our spiritual beliefs. And then we also talked, Quentin, I always say to him, I'd be like, where would I be without you? And he'd be like, you wouldn't even know about lentils and lamb if it wasn't for me. So because of him, I was introduced into like different foods that I didn't even know growing up. So like you said, like lentils, I did not have no idea what lentils were. I don't think I had ever eaten lamb prior to meeting him. It was just different things. He really kind of just like exposed me to some different stuff. But one interest that he had from somebody that he knew was gardening. And so I just remember Quentin having this interest in gardening. Now that I even think about it, he was really like my first introduction to like herbs to my knowledge. I remember him growing like a hair oil on top of the roof. Not growing it, he was like infusing it. He was infusing it in the sun. But he was like, yeah, I'm making like a rosemary lavender hair oil. And I'm like, what? Like I had never heard of this practice of making a hair oil and infusing it in the sun. So I think he might even put me onto sun tea, like in brewing tea in the sun. So just different stuff. I don't know. This kid was already on like some different stuff. So of course, like the religion, just eating different foods. And then again, like I said, he was into gardening. And one day I was at school at Georgia State and just at the office, and I saw like this flyer about gardening, like a gardening internship. And I just took like a picture of it real quick, sent it to Quentin, and Quentin actually responded to the flyer. Come to find out, he was the only person who responded to the flyer and the only person that showed up for the internship. And so he starts interning just based off of him just already being interested in gardening. And then from there, I think I was like stressed. At that time, Quentin was like a valet. I was a server at a restaurant, which I really enjoyed my formative years as a server. And I'll go into that just a little bit. But that was what we had going on at the time. And I think I was like stressed with something. And Quinn was like, come out to the farm sometimes. Like, why don't you just come out there? I've already started interning out there, and it's like a nice, quiet place where you can, just kind of like work and, it's by the highway, but it's still in Atlanta, but it's quiet. It was strange. But we went out there, and ever since then, I don't know if that was like just a really good way for us to like bond. We were out there together. It was just this raw land. We're learning from Nuri. It was Urban Sprout Farms. If you know the story of Urban Eden, then you've heard us talk about Urban Sprout Farms a lot. But those were our formative years. I feel like during those times when we were interning at Urban Sprout Farms. And so that's why even with Urban Eden, we say like, that it all started in a garden, because this was where I started kind of like getting more exposed to plants, to soil, to farmers market life, to herbalism. And even though so I didn't feel like I needed to necessarily even just go deep into me being a kid, because I remember a lot of that type of stuff, but that was just like I just had your normal childhood. But a lot of things started opening up for me, like pretty much meeting Quentin. He changed my life. No, but he did. He has influenced a lot of different things. And then, of course, just the different people that we've met along the way. So meeting Nuri and Safi. And so even when we would go out to Urban Sprout Farms, Nuri was actually growing a garden in the back of his house as well. He called it like guerrilla gardening. And so shout out to Nuri, because Nuri actually showed me like one of the first plants, which was mullein, and I've been in love with mullein ever since then. Ever since he showed us what a mullein plant was. It was like this really tall plant at the time, yellow flowers, and I just knew that you could smoke it. He told us that you could smoke it. It helped to open up the bronchial tubes, and I was just so intrigued by it. I was like, wow, like you're teaching us about this plant, you could smoke it. And then of course just learning about different herbs in the soil. I remember one time my mom came out there to the garden that Nuri had behind his house, and I was like, Ma, try this tomato and basil. Like we grew this, and I was so excited about just like growing a plant, being able to take off a piece of a plant, put something like that together, a piece of tomato and basil, and to taste it directly from the plant, and to get like this flavorful combination of basil and tomato. And so I wanted my mom to try it, and I remember my mom being like, ew, no, like I don't want to try that. And I was like, what? And she was like, it like came from the ground. And that kind of, I will always remember that, because that's my mom. This is the person that raised me, but here I am, like my mind is being open to something new and different that I never really had been exposed to, and then trying to show my mom, and then seeing her reaction to it. And it was just like I just kind of understood that I was on my own path pretty much. Like even though I might have grew up a certain type of way, like really a lot of the things that I was learning and being exposed to at that point in time were like a lot of the decisions that I was choosing to make, things that felt right to me in my life, and just the path that I was going to continue to choose. And these were the things I was going to continue to choose. So it just opened up my world to like plants, just my spiritual beliefs becoming more open, and really honing in on what all of those things meant to me. And that's why I value just talking about holistic practices and things that deal with a holistic lifestyle. I think that in a way I want to say like holism. I feel like they call it holism, but I don't know. I need to look that up and make sure if it's right or not. But for now, we're just going to call it a holistic lifestyle. But it's just been this journey it's just a journey. It's just a journey. So that's what I've learned along the way so far. But yes, back to Urban Sprout Farms. There, it was just a lot of like things that kind of just came my way, that kind of just helped to continue to form how we were going. So of course I was working at a restaurant at that time. And then I actually even started to like get more into herbalism. I remember we got invited to this herbal conference, and Nuri asked us, did we want to like go camping at the herbal conference? I had never even been camping before, in a tent, on the ground, dark at night, bugs, very raw and primitive. And so I don't know. I think we just the mindset that we were at. We went on ahead and went camping, and we went out there, and this herbal conference was like super super cool. We went to the farm. It's called the farm. It's in Somerville. I think it's Somerville, Tennessee. And it's a commune. And if anybody knows about any like birth work, Ida B. Wells, that's actually her commune and her farm and the land that she grew up on. So we go to this herbal conference, and I'm just saying, yeah, like I'm down to volunteer because like I'm somewhat interested in herbs, but really didn't know too much. I just knew like the plants and stuff that we were working with. And we go to this herbal conference, and Rosemary Gladstar is there. I mean, she's an OG in the herbal game. There were some other herbalists there, but Rosemary Gladstar is the main person, and Ida B. Wells, of course. I think I'm saying her name. Not Ida. I'm talking about Ida is, it's Ina, y'all. Ina May. I'm talking about Ida B. Wells. She's a advocate, but Ina May, y'all, I'm sorry, but she was there, and then of course she told us the story about the commune, and I just was so amazed. Like, this was so dope to me. These people were living off the land. They were birth workers at that point. That was like interesting to me, but it wasn't like being a birth worker or anything like that wasn't like interesting to me in general, just because I'm just like, oh, this is interesting. Like midwives, people giving birth, like, y'all, this was all new to me. Of course, just growing up, I knew hospitals having babies. I didn't even know about like midwives and people having babies at birth centers or having them at home or what have you, or water births or anything. So I pretty much get exposed to this. They showed us some of the businesses that they had there. They had like a hammock business, a tofu business, and they were just pretty much telling us a story. I sat at the feet, literally, of Rosemary Gladstar while she took us on a walk and sat there and talked about plants. We talked about plantain. We talked about herbs that were good for fertility. And so me just asking like different questions, and just even the way that she just described like how you could walk outside and find plants just growing right at your feet, and that was medicine. So this was all things that were like eye-opening to me, because I'm like, wait a second, you mean like so this isn't just grass, like, so these weeds that we see as weeds, like these things are actually medicine, and we're walking over medicine daily. They were out there picking blueberries and showing us about fire cider, which is something that I love. I heard the fight that was going on with fire cider, and how there was a company that was trying to say that they wanted to trademark fire cider and trademark the recipe. But, you know, Rosemary Gladstar, her whole aspect of it was that it's similar to like a sweet potato pie. Like, you know, if you make something your own, like nobody can really patent sweet potato pie per se. It's just like you make your sweet potato pie your own way. And essentially that's the same thing that goes on with herbs. Like, this was just a concoction that was like, it's been around for ages and years and generations. This is just the way that I make it. And so nobody can really kind of like lay claim to it in a sense. So hearing that fight and just being opened up to that world just really, really had me so interested in herbalism. I was taking workshops, and here I was just being a volunteer at that conference. And it was really like very like grassroots. It was not like a big conference or anything. It was very, very grassroots. We danced around a bonfire, like very grassroots like that. Okay. And so, you know, like I said, I was just being opened up to so much. And I just really, truly remember that Nuri showing me about that mullein, us being introduced to the herbal conference, meeting Rosemary Gladstar. Those were the catalyst, like the beginning wheels going in my head for like herbalism. Wow, like being opened up to this world and just seeing how amazing alternative medicine could be. And so that pretty much sparked my interest. I started getting herb books from there. And after leaving from the commune and being a part of Urban Sprouts and going to farmers markets, I remember going to farmers markets and seeing people selling different products and just being like, wow, I want to be one of these people. I want to be somebody who sells products at farmers markets. I want to live on a commune. I want to have a business so I could be valuable to the commune, and I want to learn a skill. I had already was learning farming, so I was like, you know, I want to learn a different skill. And we were learning so many different things within farming. So I also like to read. And during that time, me and Quentin did not have a TV. So we just were, you know, reading, going to Barnes and Noble, going out to the farm, working. That was pretty much like our days, and just hanging out in the house. together. And yeah, we went to Barnes and Noble one day. I got a craft book, opened up the craft book, and I was like, man, let me pick a craft that I want to learn. And from there, I've just soap making. There was soap making, there was candle making, there was woodworking, crocheting, a bunch of different things in there. But soap making, for some reason, stuck out to me. It felt like something practical. It felt like something that I could do. And so it came with like a list of different ingredients that you needed to get. And I ordered those ingredients and made my first lavender soap. I made like a lavender melt and pour soap. And I remember like a lot of, like I said, during these formative years, I just remember like light bulbs going off in my head. So just even like when I made that first batch of soap, I just remember thinking to myself like, wow, like you can make a batch of soap and put herbs and essential oils into it. I made a lavender soap, put lavender herbs in there and essential oils, and that you could take a shower and use this daily. And I had already been, because we were exposed to the farm, I had already been like, we dabbled in like eating vegan here and there. I think we were probably even vegan at the time when I started urban eating. And we just dabbled in eating better. I had already started using natural soaps at the time, like going to Whole Foods, getting natural soaps. Really like gardening at Urban Sprout Farms, and just the different things that happened along the way kind of got me thinking into like eating better, putting things on my body for the better, doing practices like yoga, gardening. I had just started dabbling in all those types of things. I was growing locks. Like I was about as natural as I could get for the most part. Not wearing deodorant, all those types of things. So I was super natural. And that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a hippie. I was like, I just know that I'm just gonna be like this hippie or what have you. So yeah, those were a lot of the things that were just guiding me, and that's the way that I was going at that point. So when I made that soap, I was just excited I just was like, man, I want to use a soap every day that's going to have like those essential oils and that's going to have those herbs. And so, yeah, I just used all of that. And then Quentin, he was already like business minded. He had started like a vegetable garden and landscape business at the time. So that was also like, and I was helping out with that. So still just being able to like grow plants and farm and work alongside him. Not only that, during that time I was a server at a taco spot, and I love that spot to death. I mean to life, but I love that spot, and I actually learned a lot about like customer service. Just being a thoughtful person when you're serving tables, different things like that. And so once I started like getting into that, I was like, man, I want to work at a restaurant where I could eat healthier. And eventually I started working at True Food Kitchen, and they do the anti-inflammatory diet there. So on one end, I'm, going and working at True Food, and that's a place that's healthier. And then on the other end, I'm also like learning how to make soap and just getting this up and going. And so I'm just around all of this, like just doing natural things in my life, just natural practices and different things like that. And so one thing I even started doing was like selling my soaps when I was going to the restaurants. I would bring in my little basket of soaps and sell soaps and, make some money. So it was definitely giving like side hustle at the time. It was giving side hustle. I was dibbling and dabbling in different things as far as like being a server, just trying to find my way for real. I thought at one point that I wanted to like work at Whole Foods or Seven Nanda or something. And I remember my mom being like, why are you just like thinking about all these earthy jobs? And I was like, I don't know. Like, that's just me. Like, that's just what I want to do. I just want to do something earthy like that. And so, soap making just ended up becoming my thing. And because Quentin was already in business, he was like, go ahead and you should start a soap business. And I was like nervous because I was like dabbling in jewelry, and then selling some jewelry and selling like clothes that I would wear. I love to go thrifting and stuff, so I would just sell my clothes. But I had never really thought, like, when I said I wanted to like learn a skill in soap making and all of that, I didn't think of like, it ran across my mind, but I think I just didn't think it all the way through. So anyways, I was like, I'm gonna just go ahead and start a business. And I was like, what does that look like? And because he started a business, he helped me out a lot in the beginning. And so definitely that's why I say co-founder. He was definitely there for the whole findings of Urban Eden part, and helped establish a lot of the regulations and the compliances that we had to establish as a business. And so, I was like, what does that look like though, starting a soap business? And he was like, you should make the soap from scratch. And that was even important to me then, because, I was like, we need to start being more mindful of the things that we are putting into our bodies, but then also the things that we're putting into our bodies, like what is in that. So I was like, I wanted to definitely be a part of that creation process for making the soaps if I was going to go into business. And, those were just the things that we established in the beginning as values for ourselves, because not only that, we were like Hebrew Israelites at the time, and that had exposed me to a lot of different things as well. And just wanting to be more like natural in the foods that we were eating, the things that we were putting on our bodies. And so it just was in every aspect. I was just trying to get that in. So we just continued on with, I started on making soaps and ordered all the ingredients that I needed to make a batch of soap. And then I posted it on social media, and so many people were like interested in like what I was doing. And I'm just like, wow. So y'all actually like the soap. And it was really cool to actually just get like a lather and just have the herbs in there. So from there, I actually had to go deeper into not just like learning how to make soap, but to learning more about herbs and essential oils, the ingredients that we were putting in. And that's how I started creating like the foundational soaps that we had, which were like our tea tree and turmeric activated charcoal. We had a bentonite clay soap. Neem and chlorella had been around for a long time. So these were just like some different herbs that I had looked up that were like good for the skin and that were good to put into soaps. And a lot of those soaps are still around to this day, just because those ingredients are just naturally good ingredients that help with the skin. And I was just out here making that, but I was just diving deeper into herbalism. For me, it was like, growing things at the farm, reading a lot of books helped me a lot. I have taken like herbal classes along the way, and they helped. I honestly, y'all, I think I'm like one of those people that I can start things and sometimes I don't always finish them. Most of the times, like I've started like herbal courses and I have finished my courses, but I don't get like the diplomas and the certifications. I don't do all the things that it takes to get that stuff. I don't know why. I just don't. Maybe it's because like I'm an adult and I don't know. I don't even know why the reason I do that. I don't know. But I don't get the certifications and the completions. But I complete them. I'll go through the whole thing. I really like the courses more so as a point of reference and for me to just continue to gain knowledge. I don't know if I like more so value certifications all the time, because one of my biggest things where like in the beginning I would be like, oh, I need to become a certified herbalist, this, that, and the next. And maybe that's a topic that we can even explore on the podcast too, is like, just the certification of herbalists. And, I'm like, oh, I need to get a certification. And so I was just like, I need to get a certification. But Quentin was always too like, well, do you really need a certification to be a herbalist? And I had looked up so much information, and even from other herbalists that I had talked to, and they said that you didn't need a certification to be a herbalist because, this is things that are like centuries and generations old. Like these are practices that have just been, you're working with herbs, you're working with the land, you're working with your intuition to create these different herbal medicines. And of course there's a right way and a wrong way to do things nowadays. So you definitely just want to like get educated on those types of things. But as far as like the certification, I don't know. It was always up and down as far as to like whether or not that was necessary in my line. But I naturally had the knack for like wanting to learn more about herbs. So along the way, I've just done different things, like attended different conferences, read different books, watched videos, made herbs, made herbal remedies myself. And so, like I said, it's still a journey. I feel like even for me personally now, like I think I went harder a long time ago during those times, and I've kind of like fell back a little bit, maybe because like I'm a mom now, and herbalism now kind of like looks different for me. It's like, how do I still do the things that I need to do for myself herbally, and then also my child herbally, and then as well my husband. So like as a family, how do we, heal. And herbalism is just, it's not a like an execution point, like, okay, I'm a master and I know all the things. It's never really like that. It's just the continual learning. It's just like life. And so, but it's definitely a calling for me, as far as like just different herbs. But there's so many herbs, plants, essential oils, different things, butters, plant oils, carriers. Like there's so many different things to learn about, and it's just a matter of just like constantly getting the education around it. So that's just something that I've done along the way, is just continue to get like education within herbalism. And so I'm excited to have like herbalist on the podcast so that we could talk a little bit more and dive deeper. And so that's why I say it's like a learning journey for not just me, but for you guys as well, for anybody that's listening in. But then it's also, I'm learning too along the way. So I just started digging deeper, researching different ingredients and creating these different types of soaps. And for the longest, I was just selling when I was working at the restaurant, and then when I was selling at the congregation, when I was Hebrew Israelite. And then also we got into farmers markets sometime while I was still working at the restaurants, so that we could get more like a local name. We wanted to really like build our brand awareness along the way. So farmers markets, we got into Community Farmers Market, which is a Atlanta-based group, essentially, of farmers markets. But they have one of the biggest ones, which is Grant Park Farmers Market. And we didn't start there because it was like you had to work your way up and to get into Grant Park at some point. It was like that was top notch at the point. So we were out at like East Atlanta Village. We did like Decatur Farmers Market. And once we started doing farmers markets, I felt like good. I felt like, wow, this is kind of like, picking up more, because we were doing farmers markets every week, like Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I'm telling my job, I'm like, I can't work with y'all on Tuesdays and Thursdays no more, thinking I'm doing something. And like I'm changing up my schedule and stuff. And at some point, farmers markets really did pick up for us a little bit more. Of course, there were down days, but they did pick up for us more. And I really was getting tired of like working. I think working and clocking in, because like Quentin, on one hand, he was like working, he was doing his business. So at some point, he's like just doing business. He's going and doing landscaping. He's not like clocking into a job and stuff like that. So I was like, man, I just wanted to get like that at some point too. I wanted to do that too. So in 2016, that's when I officially like stopped working at True Food, and just jumped in, went all money in, like Nip said. I was all money in with Urban Eating. And I remember Quentin, it's so crazy because even though he had stopped working, he was a little bit scared for me to stop working. I think it was kind of like what are we going to do now as far as like money being stable and things coming in. And trust and believe, it was some hard times, like 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019 going into 2020. Those were some hard years, but we had fun along the way. But we were doing the farmers markets mainly, and just growing like our online presence during that time. And I know we had like our trip when we went to California. We took our bar soaps there, and just along the way, we just done different things like with the soaps, and then we've introduced more products along the way. But even within business, being in business for like 8 years, I've created like all the products that have been on the line. So it's like, the company has grown. There's a lot more people that work within the company. We have like about 30 people that work within the company now. And so it's just kind of like, I still do the products though. So, that's how I still just remain there. I actually don't personally like make the soap, but I create like all of the limited edition soaps, all those different things. So, and that's still a part of my job, and my love is just like researching the products, researching ingredients, and really continuing to educate myself on the benefits of, different ingredients, how they'll work on the skin. And that's something that we'll be diving deep into within the podcast too, is like just different ingredients, how they work on the skin, essential oils. Even along the way, I've learned so much about essential oils. Speaking of certifications, like I know that I was talking about certifications as an herbalist, but I do want to become like a certified aromatherapist. I want to dive deeper into aromatherapy because it's something that is like essential. The world of essential oils is just so like in depth. And that's essentially like the essence of the plants to me. And I just really like that they have so many different benefits within the essential oils. I love how expensive essential oils can be. It's like, to me, it's like jewelry. Of course, you have like your costume jewelry that doesn't cost that much, but then you got your expensive jewelry that costs a lot, and that's what essential oils are like to me. It's like the finest, and this is something that's generational. It's ancient as well, and it's not just about fragrance. It's not just about how it smells. It's about the impact that it has on your body as well, the mental impact that it has on your body, the spiritual and the physical impact that it can have too. And I love that, like essential oils, plants, doing yoga, taking a walk, breathing, like all of these things are just embodied in a holistic lifestyle. It doesn't even have to be complex. It's really just like you just choosing to do better daily. And it don't even got to be like in all aspect, like being perfect in a way. It's really a matter of like doing what's right for you. And that's doing what's right for you, being mindful, being aware, and creating balance in a way that you see fit. So that's what I really truly feel like. I just kind of like jumped into like what a holistic lifestyle kind of like means. But just being within the business of urban eating, all the research that I've had to do around ingredients has shown me that they work in more than just this way of one application. They work in so many different ways. So like a holistic lifestyle is, using natural ingredients that help in many different ways. Those essential oils, plants, these things all have like energetic fields. They have like spiritual qualities to them. They have physical benefits to them. And so that's why it's just like so important to me, because it's important and it's also essential to me, because I feel like it doesn't have to be perfect. It's not like one particular way. Even the concept and the term of wellness it so much embodies in it. And so that's why we'll be talking about, how wellness and a holistic lifestyle plays into the role with like you taking care of your skin, how the foods that you eat, the things that you put on your skin, like the things that you listen to. I know, like, and even speaking of like the things that we listen to, I just think about like, even in our beginning stages, Quentin would listen to like a lot of like podcasts and stuff, but he listened to this guy, Jim Rohn. And he would listen to this guy like every day. He talked in a specific voice, and but Quentin would just like remember these things. But just listening to that daily, I feel like kind of helped him as far as like with personal development, and just subconsciously, I'm listening to this stuff too, because he's playing it out loud. Like I could hear it. And that even made me just think about how I have a 10-month, she's about to be 10 months old. I have a 10-month-old, and pretty much every day we're playing Miss Rachel for her. And Miss Rachel is telling her how to say mama, dad, dad. And I feel good about it because I feel like it's personal development. That is her own personal development as a baby. She gets to listen to those videos every day, but it's that repetition and just kind of like helping you to develop and helping you to grow along in life. And for me personally, like I haven't really like listened to anybody in particular. I've read like several books that have helped with personal development, but to me it's a matter of just like living life. So some of the practices that I do, a couple of years ago I did a certification to become a yoga instructor. That I did finish, and I got a certification for that. So I do finish some things. Okay. I do finish things and get some certifications. In some cases I haven't, but I've done a lot of like education along the way. But I did something to become like a yoga instructor. And it really wasn't even to become a yoga instructor. It's the same thing. I just want to learn more about things that I should be doing in my own daily practice. And that's why I went to learn I wanted to just dive deeper. If yoga was something that I identified with, and I wanted to know more about the poses that I was doing, the flow, and the practice of yoga, like what all embodied it. And so that was a really eye-opening experience as well. And that's something that I want to like dive deeper into, as well as like learning more about yoga. Learning just in general is a beautiful thing. So we're going to be doing a lot of that on this podcast. I don't really like, I'm not really like, I don't talk a lot of business. So I gave you the rundown, the top part of like urban eating, and then just pretty much talking about this holistic lifestyle, which is it's an everyday thing. It's an everyday thing for me. Not perfect, but definitely trying to eat better right now, especially now that we have a child. And you think about like the childhood that you kind of like want to set up for your child. You want them to be their own person, do their own thing, but then you're also a part of like facilitating their childhood and just the choices that are made for them while they're a child until they become like an adult who decides what they want to do. And I know like now that we have a child, we want to just make sure that she's like eating good. She don't got to eat like the best of the best, but we're being more mindful of the food that she's eating, the products that she's using on her body. Of course, she's an urban eating baby. We came out with the urban baby line around the time that she was born. And so we just, for us, being holistic is kind of like who we are. It embodies different things. Whatever it is that we want to try, we try that. And whatever it is that we do in our life, just like being more mindful and aware of the things that we do. So that I'm pretty much I think that was a good like first episode for the most part. I was just pretty much going in about a little bit about me, a little bit about what the podcast is going to be like. This is my first episode. I deal with imposter syndrome sometimes. We're going to talk about that too. I deal with imposter syndrome, and sometimes I overthink things like, oh, what am I going to talk about, and this, that, and the next. But we're just going with the flow, all right? That's what this podcast is going to be about, going with the flow. And hopefully you guys find some tidbits along the way that you can find useful into your life and that you can incorporate. If you guys have any questions or comments that you want me to talk about, like in future episodes, different topics, feel free to email me and at terran.lewis@urbaneating.com, and we'll discuss some of those different topics. Also, be sure to subscribe to the podcast if you like what we're talking about and want to just stay abreast of future episodes. Go ahead and subscribe to us, and give us comments on our content and let us know what you want to talk about. And until next time, thank you for joining the Urban Eden podcast.